Okay, this is the passenger side done. So both sides of the frame have been repaired and they came out really nice. They did just slightly, about 3/8 of an inch, where it was heated on both sides. They did kind of lean in a little bit. They kind of slightly cupped, I guess. The brace that goes across, the holes don't quite line up. They're a little off by about the spacing of a hole. So that's no big deal. I'll put a spacer in it and push it across and spread it when I put the bar back in. But it did draw up a little bit, but the back up and down stayed the same, so I don't think it bent any this way. It just kind of drew in a little bit that way. So no big deal, but it's fixed, so we can concentrate on cleaning up all the parts for the rear end and putting it all back together. Okay, since I'm not going to film much today, I'm going to try one of these things and see what happens. We have all this stuff, abracadabra, snap. Did you think it was going to be seamless and it was going to look like all the parts were going to be in the same spot they were when I snapped my fingers? Nope, not quite. But I did get everything cleaned for the most part yesterday. These I'm going to have to go back through, and the corners, you can see the corners have rusted down to almost nothing at the very top. So I am going to have to brace these somehow. I'm going to add metal across the top on the corner, but I got to figure it out because you have to be able to get to the nut down there when you put it together. So I think what I'm going to do today is brace these up, come up with a plan, and get these on. The rest of this stuff, the springs, these I have to get some bushings out, but basically everything here on the table is ready for paint. Actually the rust prevention first and then the paint, so this is mostly ready. I still got to do the frame, but I've been over the frame once, so I'm going to concentrate on these today and see what we can do to fix them. Okay, I think it's going to be a fairly simple fix. I'm just going to run a piece along the back here to connect this corner to that corner, about 3/4, maybe an inch wide. And then I'm going to put a top plate on it that'll have kind of an arch in it, because I have to have room to get to a nut that goes on the back side. You put your bolt through here, and this is how you access the nut on the back side. You can see how these things rust out, this design. They left this space here for water and debris to go through. It's pretty big. You can see I got my finger in there. But after that fills up and clogs up, then it just starts filling with mud and water, and it gets clogged up, and nothing can go anywhere if you don't clean that out. So it just collects water on the frame, so that's why they rust through right there. So like I say, it's not a great design. I mean, if you kept this clean all the time, that would be fine, but most people that have a truck don't, get in here and clean little spaces like that. So anyway, it'll last for me. I'm not going to try to correct that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I just need to strengthen this up because it's, like I say, you can see those corners got pretty rusted there. So anyway, I can fix that, no problem. And the rest of them, plenty strong enough. So anyway, let's get these pieces on, get these two things fixed. Then I still need to sand the frame a little bit, and then basically everything will be ready for paint. Okay, here's what I came up with. I got a 1-inch strip there that gets welded on both sides to fill in there, the weak spot and the back side. And then this plate, I'll go over top of it, and it gets fully welded on the side and the back. And what I end up with is a piece like this. Do that. It's plenty strong now. On the back, it's fully welded. So all the weakness should be strong again. So that's what I went with, and I still have plenty of room to get a wrench in here. I mocked up a wrench, so I got plenty of room to work a wrench in there. So anyway, get this one welded up, and these will be ready for paint. Okay, let's review where we're at. I've got a lot of parts prepared for paint. I put the rust prevention on them. So I've got those, the mounts for the springs, the emergency brake cables, little triangular mounts, the cross brace, those are done. The cross brace itself is done. These spacers are ready for paint. Shackles, the lower springs are done. One thing I'm going to tackle today is the springs and the shackles. I've got to get the bushings out of them. So last night I watched a bunch of videos on it, and I think I found a technique that's going to work best. At least it looks like it works best. So today we'll work on getting those out, and I'm going to try the technique that I found that seems like it'll work. So we can get those out, and then I also have the frame prepped. So the frame is ready for paint. Probably needs another day for the rust prevention stuff to dry. It's not 100% dry, but that is ready to go. Basically, I'm going to clean up today. I've still got a mess on the ground where I was doing all the grinding. So that's ready to go, but frame itself came out pretty good. I think it's gonna come together nice once we get it painted. So that's ready. Today I'm going to work on also the rear end besides the shackles. I've got this primarily ready for paint, but where I took the shackled bolts that go on, the lower hangers that go on, it's pitted a little bit. It's hard to see it because it's not clean, but like where my finger is, it's pitted quite a bit. So I think I'm going to go through, I'm going to do some welding there and just kind of fill it with weld and smooth it anywhere it's kind of bad like that. Just kind of filling up. It's probably fine. I mean, it's not, all the way through or anything like that, but just to make it look a little better, I think I'm going to do some welding and some smoothing on a couple of areas on here. But we'll have this ready for paint today, and hopefully I'll have the springs ready. So hopefully by the end of the day, everything will be ready for paint. So slowly filling these holes with weld, or these divots here. I'm going real slow, and I'm using air to cool them down just to fill it in. This is basically cosmetic. I don't think it's really adding any strength to it, but I don't want to warp this or twist this. I'm going nice and slow. So basically I'm just filling in these rusted divots where the shackle set on there and water would collect on it and rusted. So I've got that one done. I've got this side welded up already. It looks terrible, but I'll grind it down. It'll be nice and smooth. So this is the worst side. The other side's not as bad. So I'm gonna get these done and then a little bit more cleaning, and this will be all right. I got these all cleaned up nicely. They came out nice. That's as smooth as I need them. So I got both sides. So those look good with paint. This is the blood, sweat, and tears part of it. I opened my knuckle up with the grinder, so I've got to go take care of that and see what that looks like. Looks like it's pretty deep, so I'm going to go clean that up and get a band-aid on it and flip this over and see if I need to weld on the other side. The back side had places I had to fill too, and over here actually is the deepest one of all of them, so I'm going to take my time and get this one. This one's pretty deep. It's probably 3/16 maybe to an eighth. So I'm thinking it's probably quarter wall. So if it is 3/16, that's pretty close. I have to be careful I don't burn through there, but I'll get it filled and it'll be okay. I might do a little bit on this too, but let's just get this done and smooth down, and we'll move on to the next. Okay, you can see I got that cleaned up nice. That was that big divot, so that's all gone. The last thing I have to do, there was a little alignment pin that used to go right there for the bottom of the U-bolts. So that kind of goes similar to that. And to put that back, I've got a little round bushing that I drilled out a little bit, and then I'm just going to plug weld that back into place, and that'll put the alignment pin back in. So I just need to get these lined up perfectly, plug weld that, then of course these need to be cleaned before we get painted, but after that the rear end will be done. Okay, I tested the technique that I've found on YouTube to get these bushings out. This took about 10 minutes. I'll probably get faster as I go, so this method works really good, so I did this first just to see if it works. So tomorrow I'll take all the bushings out and I'll show you how I did it. Okay, so here's the technique that seems to work well. You take a drill bit and you just drill around this rubber on both sides, and it breaks it up because this rubber's pretty brittle after it's this old. So you do that, and then after you do that, it breaks it up pretty bad. It just comes right out. Then you can drive this center section out. So let me drill this out and see what it looks like. Okay, after you drill it, it kind of looks like an anthill on it. It digs up all the stuff. You can kind of see the holes. I did the other side. I can do more on this side now that I can see it, and then I'll be ready to try to drive it out. Okay, now I'll bring it over to the anvil, and I'll center this over the little hole right there, and then I will try to drive it out with one of my body hammer picks that have a pick on it. So I'll just drive that down through there, and it should pop out. Try to film this. It's hard to do with one hand, but it drives right out pretty easy. I'll need two hands to get it out, but it drives out pretty easy. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, the next step is to get this outer ring out, this metal ring. I just put it in a vise, and along the bottom side there where the outside metal comes together, you're just going to take your sawzall with a blade, and you're just going to go in there, and you're just going to carefully just cut that outer ring. Don't cut the the spring shackle, but it's pretty easy. You can see that. You just cut that outer ring. Just cut one slit. You can cut two slits in if you want it. And then you just stick a screwdriver down there like a chisel, and it just folds and comes right out. So let me get this cut done. Okay, I found I like to put 2 cuts in mine. You can kind of see one cut I try to cut all the way through. The second one I just kind of crease it a little bit. And next, you just get it up on the anvil. I can't do this two-handed, but you just take a screwdriver or anything, a punch, you hit that with a hammer a few times. That'll easily bend in, and then you can just knock that thing out. I mean, okay, you just drive a screwdriver, and it folds in on itself. And you do both sides, you can see how it folded in. And then you just take a screwdriver, or a punt, or anything, a chisel. I'm using an old screwdriver for a chisel, and you just drive it down, it comes right out. So it's not that big a deal, really. It used to be a pain in the ass before I knew the technique, but this makes it actually pretty easy. Okay, get the new bushing in. It wasn't that bad. I grease it a little bit with the grease on both pieces, just kind of lightly. And then I took I think it's a 7/8 socket, one of the spark plug sockets. Yeah, actually 13/16. This was a little too small. I mean, it drove it in, but one of the edges, not that edge, it dinged it up a little bit. You can see where it didn't go in there perfectly, but it drove it pretty much right in there. So I think I'm going to switch to the next size socket. Hopefully it won't beat that edge up as bad, but it went in without much problem. So this one's in, it's got brand new bushings in it, so this is ready for paint now. Okay, I switched sockets and it drove it right through perfectly, and you can see that it has that rubber edge that sticks out. This is a 21 millimeter, and if I can get it to focus, 21 millimeters metric. It works perfect because it goes around that rubber and stays in place, and it drives the sleeve straight down, so it's the perfect size. So looks like a 21 millimeter is your best socket for driving bushings in a 1966 Ford. So I gotta do the same thing on the leaf springs, but I'll do that later. I just want to get these parts painted because they'll go on before. So anyway, great success. Okay, so I got the entire frame painted. You can see where the repair was. It blends right in. You can't even tell it was repaired on both sides. The frame is all painted. It looks good. Happy enough with it. And I also got the parts that go back on the frame painted. This is the cross member that goes across the top, so it's all painted up. And these are the braces that kind of triangulate it. These were pitted pretty bad, so they're still solid, but they're a little rougher than the rest of it. And the mounts for the springs, they're all done and ready to go on. So now I just need to get some hardware to bolt this stuff back together. But today I'm going to work on painting the rear end. So I want to get it painted today and a couple other pieces, small pieces, but I'm going to focus on getting this done today. And then I just have the springs to paint, and then I'm pretty much ready for reassembly. Okay, now I'm working on one of the last components for the rear end of the lower shackles. I got these off eBay. They're pretty crusty looking, and you can see, especially in the corners there's a lot of mud and dirt stuff in there, some rust. But anyway, they clean up okay. Got this one cleaned up. Took a Dremel, got in there. Got all the corners in there, so pretty good. So just doing that with a wire brush on here and a Dremel. And this is worn down. I've been doing some sculpting and other stuff, so it's worn down. But the good part of that is the radius fits right inside of there perfectly, so cleans that out nice and good. So anyway, I'll get this one cleaned, and these will be ready for some rust prevention spray, and then we'll get them painted. And then the rear end is just about ready to go back in the truck. Okay, I'm removing these bushings, the same technique, drill them out and pounding them through. This spring, some of my things that capture it are bent and one's missing. So I've got to work on this one. This one, I've got the bushings out, and I've got the rust prevention. I cleaned it pretty good. So this will dry, this one will be ready for paint and to put the bushings back. Like I say, this one, I can bend this one back into place, but I'm missing the other half of this one. It's broken completely, so that I've got to fix. But anyway, I'll get these bushings out right now. Okay, I think I've came up with a plan on my rear spring here. This is the wrap that goes around that's broken off. So this side I can beat back into shape. It's still together. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this head off, which will still leave a little bit of a stud sticking up. I'll make a new piece out of 3/16 and get it U-shaped. And then I think I'll put a carriage head bolt or something on top of that and drill it out. Put something cool over the spring, make sure I don't get it hot, and just weld that back on. Because really that stud will be enough to hold it once it wraps around the spring. But I can't really bolt. I don't have a rivet that I can pound in there, so I may do something else, I think, but I'll get this off first and see. But I think that's going to be the plan. So let's get this fixed and I can get this spring back together. I got all of the sleeves out of it, so it's ready to go back together. Okay, you can see it's kind of dark. The power went out for the second time today. The power was out all night, but it came back on about 8 o'clock, 8:30 this morning. It just went out again, so it's kind of slowing me down. But I took this angle that I had that I've repaired the frame with, and I cut a strip out of it. It's 10 inches by 1 inch to make a new version of the wrap there. I got it bent. It came out nice. It's ready to kind of assemble again, and then on the bottom side, let's kind of see the stud there. It's hard to see in the dark. Anyway, it's drilled out. I just got to weld something on the back side to hold this on there to keep it from moving. And I'll keep a wet rag or something around the spring so I don't get it too hot so nothing gets damaged on the spring. But basically, once the power comes back on, I'll be ready to clean all this and reassemble it and get it ready for paint. So, okay, the power's back on. So I've got this piece cleaned. It's ready to go together if I can pick it up. So I'll put some paint on that, but the simplest thing, I could just weld this together one piece. I may do that, or I'm going to put some kind of washer or something around it and just plug weld it. So I'm going to decide. I'm going to look to my washer collection or spacers, see what I have, and decide how I want to do it. So anyway, but I want to make sure I cover this with a cold rag so I don't get the spring hot. Okay, my plan is to plug weld it. I went ahead and put a washer around it, clean it off. It's still got a little slack in it, so I'm going to plug that weld. I'm going to come around on the washer, kind of make it a little bit like a rivet, kind of build it up a little bit, and I've got wet rags around the spring to try to keep it cool. On the very end, so that should be okay. So anyway, we'll get this plugged up and be ready to put it back together. Okay, I welded that up. I built up enough to kind of make it look like a rivet, and then I went onto the washer, but I didn't do the full width of the washer. I cut the excess of the washer off, and then I kind of sanded it a little bit, and it'll look, at a glance, it looks like it's still original. So, wasn't necessary to do that, but it didn't take that long, and it'll make it look original, so kind of cool. So anyway, we're ready to clean it and assemble it. Got it in the vise. I'm ready to hammer these over. These are actually a little too long, so I'm going to trim them down a little bit, then I'll be ready to hammer those over. Then I'm going to flip this one over. This is the one that was bent. I got it mostly in shape, but I'm going to put it in a vise and tighten that one down. And then this spring should be refurbished. Okay, that hammered over just fine, so we are good. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the couple other ones, this one in the vise, and hammer it down, and then it should be good. Okay, the other spring came out nice. That little fake rivet looks nice. It matches the others, so it looks really good. They've both been metal prepped. Now I am working the new bushings into them before I paint them. And I found a 24 millimeter socket, works perfectly. Goes right over the rubber. It's almost the exact same size. So I'll use that to drive in the new bushings. And then I will paint these things. It's going to be kind of difficult. These things are really heavy. So I can't really hang them from anything, so I've got to figure out how I'm paint. I think I'll paint one side, let it dry a little bit, and then stand it on that side and then paint the rest. But I'm prepping the springs for paint. An important thing to do, all these springs have to line up so they have a hole in them. So it's important before you paint it, before you start messing with it, get it right to begin with. So I get all the holes lined up, and then I'm just going to drop a bolt down in there to keep them together while I paint it. That way nothing's going to move, so that's where it's going to be. But it's an important thing to do because these springs all move pretty easily. Every time you lift them and move them, they hit the ground, they shift, so they can get off quite a bit. I mean, these holes can move 2 or 3 inches left or right, and different ones inside, so they go all kinds of different directions. So anyway, it's important to take care of that. Okay, I decided I'm going to paint them in this position. I'm just going to paint them as much as I can like this. Get the top side and the sides, let that dry, and then I'll flip them up on the end and paint the back side. But I have to do it in 2 stages, but that's all right. Okay, I did all this off camera to see where we are. I've got all of my hardware back on the frame, my spring mounts bolted in. I silicone behind this on both sides just to keep the water from going down behind it. This went back into place pretty easy. I did have to spread it a little bit, so I had to put some levers in there to try to pry it apart, but it really wasn't that bad. So I've got all of that together. It's nice and strong. I'm good about that. And then back here, I've got this shackle in with the right size bolt. So it's greased and ready to go. I'm ready for the springs, and then I have a major problem. I'll show you. Not too major, but kind of major. Okay, here's the problem. Here's the bolt that LMC sells for 66 four-wheel drive pickup truck. The length is fine, so I got that. Here is the actual bolt that came out of it. The other ones are rusted, so this is the only two that I could save. This is a 1/2 inch bolt. This is a 5/8 inch bolt. So actually I need 5/8 bolts. So that doesn't seem like too big of a problem. Just get a bigger bolt. Well, let's look at the problem. Here's the bolt here. You can see it's the wrong size. That's a 1/2 inch and a 5/8 inch spot. So it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. Just get the bigger bolt. Okay, so here's the real problem. LMC bolt. LMC bushing. A perfect fit. That's perfect. This is the wrong size bolt. This is the right size bolt. Guess what? It will not fit. So this is going to be a how much do I hate LMC truck right now. I've already had issues with them in the past, but this is really getting aggravating. The problem is with LMC truck is they don't have a technical service department. They just sell parts. So if you call them with any questions, they literally can't answer anything. They have a decent return policy, but it's frustrating. I mean, obviously they're not going to give me my money back for these, so I think they're only 10 bucks a piece, so that's $40. So I'm going to lose $40. I'm going to have to get these out, just like I got the other ones in. Same technique, I guess, drill the rubber, and then find the right ones and put them back in. So, I mean, this is putting me $40, maybe $60 with shipping, and probably 4 or 5 hours behind. So not a huge step back, but still very disappointing and huge pain in the ass. Springs came out okay. They got painted all right. So anyway, I'm going to go in and see if I can order some new parts, and so we can get moving forward again. Things like this, definitely the downside to working on cars like this, and why it's not easy. You know, when you think, hey, I can do a project, it's all just bolts back together and stuff. This is the kind of stuff you deal with all the time when you work on stuff. It's very aggravating. I'm literally, minus those 4 bolts, I've got the rear end painted. I've got all the parts. I've test fitted everything else, so I know everything else should go together. So I'm literally ready to hang the rear end back under the truck and get it all back together. But these 2 bolts are going to hold me up. So anyway, it's frustrating, but that's the life of working on cars. So anyway, let me get in the house and find some parts and get them ordered, and then go on with the rest of the day. And before I go, one thing that is kind of weird. These on the back, the springs hook to here on the front, and these are 5/8. This is a 1/2 inch bolt here, and it is a 1/2 inch bushing, so that's actually right here. So it's kind of weird. It's got 5/8 on the front and here, but then it jumps down to a 1/2 there. Just kind of seems like a weak point in a way, but anyway, these are correct. So, and again, it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. Okay, I got online last night. I got some new bolts ordered, so I have new bolts coming. I'm going to have to wait till Monday. I'm going to call Energy Suspension and figure out exactly which bushings I need. Every bushings that I find for this truck say the ones that I have, but I know they're wrong. So I don't know if this is a heavy duty truck or what the difference is, but I know exactly what I need size-wise and measured. So I'm going to have to do that on Monday. So today I am going to work on the rear end. I am going to put the gasket on the back side, but first I'm going to flip it over, and then the pinion gear. I'm going to put the pinion seal in, and then go ahead and put that. So I'm not going to let this little step back keep me from working. So as long as I keep moving forward, that's all that matters. So let's tear into this and get this sealed up. Okay, I'm almost ready to put the cover on. I cleaned the flange there with a razor blade and then a filed it down so it's nice and smooth. I chased all the holes with a tap to clean them up, so when I torque my bolts, I get the right pound per foot. It's important on these to get them all the same so you get a good seal. So hopefully it seals up. Everything seems to be good and clean. Nice surface. Like I say, my gears look brand new inside there, so I don't think I'm gonna have any problems there, hopefully. So anyway, I'm gonna seal this up, and then we'll move to the next thing. Okay, I got the rear end buttoned up, got everything torqued to spec, so should be good there. One thing I didn't show, this is the data plate that's on it. Tells you the gears on the back. and the other side was rusted, so I flipped it over. So you can read it pretty clear now, but everything's backwards. So it works. Like I say, the other side was just rusted, so you couldn't see, but that way I can still see 456 gears, everything, so it works. The bolt, when it torqued, it twisted a little bit, but that's no big deal. The pinion nut I can't get off until I find either my impact socket, which I can't find at the moment, or I'll have to wait till it's on the ground and do it. So that's what I'm going to do for the rear end today, because I tried to get that pinion nut on the other side, and I could not do it. I had my ratcheting wrench, that doesn't have enough torque to break it loose. So until I find my impact, I'm kind of stuck. So, okay, now I'm putting on my axle bump stops. They just go through the frame right there. There's two holes. It has the front pin, keep it from twisting. And for some reason, it's 3/16 steel. For some reason, they come with about a 2.5 inch bolt. So I'm putting these on here and I'm cutting them off right there. I don't know why that's so long. It's kind of ridiculous. Anyway, trimming them and then mounting them, because it's an easy thing I can accomplish. Okay, since I got screwed over with the parts, this is where I'm going to stop this video. On the next video, we'll finally get to see the truck back on the ground with the rear suspension under it, which I hope for this weekend, but it just didn't work out. Monday, I'll get my new bushings ordered for the leaf springs, and we'll get that underway. Hopefully they'll come midweek, and I'll get it all back together. Today, my hardware did come, for the bolts at least came, so I have all the bolts I need now. So anyway, that's where we're at. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.